Hi, I'm Dennis Coral, and we continue here another episode of Wealth Beyond Numbers, where we're continue to be discussing about money mindset. And we're here with Patty Fuenzalida. Patty, thank you for continuing to be here. I want to learn more about different myths about your industry. You know, in every industry, there's different myths. But before we talked about that, I want to tell you a little story. So the average CD rate today for 6 months is 2%. And up until today, the S&P 500 is making from January up until July close to 7% in interest. And we're not fully done in a full year. Yeah. But I still see people investing in CDs or keeping their money in cash. And at that path, if you're living off those interests, it's really hard for you to live off your interests. You have to have a lot of money and a lot of zeros in your bank account to live off 2% of interest in your money, or less than that. So people sometimes are afraid of doing things, investing the money in in the stock market, or just investing their money because they're afraid of losing, they're afraid of the unknown. So these are different myths that people have when it comes to investing. Yeah. I'm sure that in your practice, you see a lot of different myths. You also do hypnosis. So, I mean, when I think of hypnosis back in the day before working with you, I thought that somebody looks at a clock and then shows you, and then you fall asleep, and then they try to make you crazy.
Right.
But is that true?
No. No, I think that the times of the pocket watch have sunset a long time ago. Hypnosis has had a little bit of a rebirth. Because a lot of coaches and a lot of therapists are integrating it into their practice because they recognize how quickly you can create change. But I used to get that question a lot more. I've been practicing for 19 years. So when I first started, there was a lot of, are you going to make me cluck like a chicken? And eventually you think that's funny, because it gets asked so often. But no, unless you want to cluck like a chicken, that's not the point. Stage hypnosis is real. It is real, but it's not the way that we see it. It's not somebody controlling you and making you play air guitar. You're under a trance where you're more suggestible, and you may be able to do that, right? I remember I went to a stage hypnotist show that one of my friends had set up, and I'm so hypnotizable that I could give you a piece of paper with a script and you could put me under hypnosis like this, right? So of course, I get picked, I get put on stage, and I'm kind of following what he's saying, but then he's like, okay, play air guitar. And I came out and I was like, nope, because that's not in alignment with who I am, right? So I'm not going to play air guitar. I'm not going to do it if you hypnotize me. I'm not going to do it if I'm doing shots of tequila, and I'm not going to do it sober because I don't like it. I think it's silly. But if I was the type of person where I'm okay with that, I probably would have done it, gotcha. Right? So you can be suggestible, but nobody's forcing you to do anything.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So people have to be willing to change.
Yeah.
Okay, and in this day and age where we have our phones and we always are looking for fast answers to problems or quick responses or even quick solutions, do you find that hypnosis is more, how do I say this? It's the best approach to get you to a quicker solution, or it's the start for a better path? I
think it depends. I don't think it's for everybody.
No?
I really don't. Some people get too nervous when it comes to going into a state of trance. There's not necessarily risks in hypnosis as long as you're picking somebody that knows what they're doing. But it's not really, I think, a tool for everybody. There's two things that are going to predict if hypnosis is going to work. And number one, you already said it. They have to be willing to change. And the second one is that you need to trust the person that's taking you in. When I do hypnosis on you, you're trusting that the words that are going to come out of my mouth are going to be beneficial. So you need to feel that I'm not crazy. You need to feel that I understand you. Because the last thing that you want is for me to transfer what I believe into you, right? So if I believe, for example, if you come to see me for relationships, right? And I believe that a relationship is you have to be married and, you can't live together until you get married, to give you a terrible example, but something like that. And you're thinking you don't you don't subscribe to that. You think it's okay to live together before you get married. If I don't know that, and I just assume that you believe what I believe, I may give you a suggestion that says, imagine yourself moving in together because you just got married. Now I'm giving you something that doesn't align with you. So that's like a very micro example, but the subject needs to trust that the person that's going to be speaking into their mind understands them and has their best interests. And it's not always a case, because you can get certified as a hypnotist like in a self-led course in 3 hours online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not regulated. So, you gotta do your research.
That's true. Well, you have skin in the game. You've been doing this for 19 years, so you have a lot of experience.
Well, it's kind of like you know, the financial advisors that are probably not the best.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. That's why I decided to go on my own, because we like to do things in a different way. Hence the podcast, well beyond numbers. We want to share knowledge that is beyond your returns on investment. Yeah. That's just as important. Can you give me an example of a story of someone that you've taken from being at I don't want to use the word terrible, but that they were at a challenging stage in their life, and how using the tools and mindset and working with them, whether it was over time, you saw some changes in their life that were meaningful or positive?
Oh my God,
and how long does that
many.
take? Does it take years? Does it take months? Does it take a couple of sessions? How does it work when I want to work on my mind and if I have something?
It depends. It depends on, like we talked about before, the obstacles, like how many obstacles do you have? And it also depends on your suggestibility. If we're talking specifically about hypnosis, right? I'll give you an example. I had a guy who came to see me, and I love this. This is like really stands out of my head. He came to see me, and I usually will tell you, like, based on what you're telling me, I think we need to see each other this many times, so you have the right expectation. And we had a conversation about anxiety, because every time he talked with somebody new in a group, more than one person, he would get beet red and would start sweating. And he's like this 25-year-old guy, and he's like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't talk to people. So he wanted me to help him with this anxiety. And I was like, all right, it's going to be like, I don't know, 8 sessions. Let's see. In 8 sessions, you'll be totally good. We did 2 sessions, and he was like completely cured, right? Like, he had nothing. And he ended up, like, the goal was to go to Thanksgiving dinner with his new girlfriend to like meet the family. And that's why he came to see me, because he was freaking out. But it went away, and like we created some homeworks where we would put him in uncomfortable situations to see if it would re-trigger, and it never happened. And I ended up giving him his money back, because I was like, I'm like, we're not doing anything. Like, you're done. Like, if you have a problem, listen to the recordings. But we ended up doing only like 3 sessions when I was like, you gotta go. Like, I don't want to take your money. So that was like a super fast example, right? In like 1 session, you get better. But then there's other people that are less suggestible. Right? There's people that you put them under, and the analytical brain is going to question a little bit more, and it's going to be like, all right, let me take a little bit of that and give it a shot. And it may take us, 3 sessions, 6 sessions, 9 sessions. But it depends. And it also depends on the severity of what you're working on. Like OCD, for example, when I work with therapists and they're trying to remove the OCD behaviors, OCD traditionally takes a really long time. It probably takes something close to like 10, 12 sessions, right? Where something else like, falling asleep or stop biting your nails or, stop a twitch in your face, that goes away like really quickly.
I see. We work with a lot of people that are middle-aged. They're in their 40s or 50s. So I like to say they're in their prime. Yeah. We're in our prime ourselves as well.
I like to think so.
We're experienced. We like what we do. We have a passion for what we do, but we're from a different generation, where we sometimes have to overcome not just our own self-limiting beliefs, but also what I like to say is healing our inner child.
Yeah.
Does that have anything to do with how you heal people, how people predisposition themselves to get help, or overcome, or do people are more close-minded on wanting to get help? Or
I think it's just semantics, like some people will call it like inner child work, some people are going to call it shadow work, or it's the same thing. What's the obstacle, right? Is the obstacle, my mom was really critical of my body when I was growing up? okay, like that could be considered to be inner child work. But at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is take out, like disconnect whatever you adopted as true, disconnect that from your emotions so that you can create something different. But, you know, it depends on like what your algorithm on TikTok or Instagram tells you. It's either called like inner child work or, you know, it's the same thing. It's just what is the structure of the thought that has been adopted in your brain as true? And is that serving you? If it's not, we just need to change the structure of the language. Like, it doesn't need to be like all complicated with like, you know, at least I don't look at it like that.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. That's very interesting. Thank you so much. I know we can continue to chat and learn more about what you do. And that's kind of what our next episode is. I want to learn more about your practice and who Patty Fuenzalida is and Coral Gables Hypnosis and what do you do more in depth. So we're going to leave that for our next episode. Okay. So thank you, Patty. I hope you enjoyed this episode of with Patty Fuenzalida on money mindset and uncovering some of the myths. Our next episode, we're going to dive into Patty Fuenzalida, who she is, her business, her practice, and what she does and how she helps people. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And as we like to say at Coral Wealth Management, financial and retirement planning, confidence starts here. Thank you for watching.